Got it. Okay, I think we're live. Tracy, go check on that end, would you please? Yeah. Looks like we're live on YouTube and we're live on our bi-weekly question and answer scenario, where we address existing living in the private members with people who are considering it and have questions. And so the people that are in the living in the private program get an opportunity to ask the difficult questions that are hard to get answered through a normal ticket system, which is how we address our members. And we also make available it's like when you get the living in the private package, you get I don't want to call it a trouble ticket, but that's what they call it, a sport topic. And that way we're keeping tallies on what we've requested of you, what we've given of you, what you've requested of us, and what you've given us, so that there's accountability there. And it's a super important thing that we're doing our job. So we're going on our 12th year doing this, no complaints. And it's very important that we operate this above reproach, being that I believe it's ministry. We see it as a ministry, and our heart is as a ministry, but we're not one of those churches on Sunday that say handout and give us your money. And not that that's necessarily a bad thing. That's between you and God. We're a self-supporting ministry, so we offer a service and we get paid for it, but we want to do an excellent service for you. So this Q&A is basically to get those nuanced questions out. And we've answered probably 15 to 1,600 of them. So today I'm going to answer a question for everybody, and I'm going to do pause. I'm going to pause and start recording as locally so I can separate the questions and then post them separately on YouTube. The YouTube is live right now, and the whole videos will be posted there. The first question, and it's really a difficult question. What is going to happen to our process when the financial market collapses, and or with the Great Reset or the New World Order? I want people to really get something through their mind right now. Number one, I'll address that, but the most important thing is that you understand how they've structured this company called the United States. It is a corporation, 100%. And you can find that in US code, you can find that in UCC, you can find the corporation and its bylaws online. You can find it on Dun & Bradstreet, you can find it everywhere. The United States of America is not a corporation, it's a trust indenture, and it's comprised of 50 several states of the Union. The reason why you need to understand that is what the corporation basically did was I'm just going to tell you how it is. You can go and research this all you want. But from 1871 to about 1933, took the gold, the land, and in 1932-ish, House Joint Resolution 192 bankrupted the corporation. Now, from that moment forward, the only people that get paid is the banks. And so any taxation that comes in is the banks. But since the gold and the land are now gone and in their quote unquote possession, they wanted to get the people to collateralize the people. And it's been a long since planned operation. And it's not just the citizens of the United States. They did it to the entire world through the Securities and Exchange Commission. So when you're looking at the world in a Great Reset or a New World Order, it's comprised of two categories: creditors and debtors. In our nation, the creditor is the state of the Union citizen and the debtor is the US citizen, period. When in 1932, 33, 34, 35, they made the United States citizen, and this is a fact, all you attorneys and judges out there, this is a fact, they made the US citizen an enemy combatant and belligerent against the United States by adding the US citizen to the Emergency War Powers Act and Trading with the Enemy Act. Secondly, they gave you a job opportunity and you went out and applied for it. They called it something different back then, and it was basically the Great New Deal. And you got to go get a social security number, which was your employment ID number, and you became a worker directly for the United States. And so when you take a look at large, everything that is at play right now, you're looking at a global takeover, and then you're looking at who they believe they have authority and control over. Now, the US citizen was tricked into all this stuff. And yes, many of the US citizens have no clue of what it means to be self-governed. You can just simply look at the kids today having meetings and talking about how I saw a meeting on Instagram the other day, and there was a lady that was trying to run the college campus school board meeting between her fellow college kids, and all of them were offended. Can you please, a point of order, can you please tell such and such that he needs to keep his tone down? I'm being triggered right now. And then another one would say, can you, and I mean, that went on for 15 minutes, and I watched the whole thing, and I'm going, that's our country, and that's all being done by design. It's the separation, it's the takeover, if you will. If you keep everybody divided by race, by color, by creed, by what you like and dislike, and your preferences and your identity, even when you don't even have any identity, they've stripped you of everything in your own mind. Call me a he, she, they, it, whatever. Call me King Kelby, whatever. It's you have all these things, and that's the way you take down a country, is you divide it from within. Well, this country, the reality from a legal or a lawful standpoint is only creditors and debtors, period. Now, how that all looks and how that all plays down from a system or a structure standpoint, nothing's going to change for us, because the corporation does not exist unless the bottom layer exists. They created the bottom layer, the foundation, the declaration for themselves, whether you want to believe it or not. They never taught anybody how to sign on the declaration. From the very onset of the company, in the early 1800s, a company called the United States was incorporated. I'm not sure what year it first came out. I've seen it in court cases, and I've seen articles in 1911. I've seen articles in 1985. I've seen articles in 2000 and something, but I've never seen the original articles for the United States, articles of incorporation. And so when I look at case law all the way back to the early 1800s, I know that the US was incorporated back then. I know that the Constitution granted a district or an area within the Constitution for the seat of the federal government. And I know that the people existed together under the Declaration, which was a trust indenture, but they were all state citizens. They were all individual sovereign people, state citizens. A state is a body of people. That's it. We often correlate that to a group organized, incorporated, or a group organized in whatever with a charter. And no, that's simply the sovereignty of the king passed to the state. The state, lowercase, means a body of people. And so we can call ourselves whatever we want. The Indians, the Luciferians, if that's you, I hope it's not, the Catholics, the Christians, the Californians. You call yourself whatever you want, the Republicans, the Democrats, and you're making all these associations and ideologies of who you are. Well, literally, yes, there's 50 several states of the Union. Back then, it was 13 when it first started, and they were colonies converted into people bound together where the sovereignty of the king passed to the state, meaning the people. The sovereignty of the king passed to the people. And so when you finally get that through your mind, that, and you look at those docs on the Declaration of Independence, and it says United States, capitalized, United's lowercase, States is capitalized, of America. The element of the word states is a noun and America is a noun, but America is North America, South America, Central America, Canada, that's America. So what makes you prevalent or you stand out? It's the states, the people within America. And so we have recognition as the united adjective, lowercase, describing who the people were. They were united. So it wasn't United States of America as the name of your your country. Your country name was literally California. And I don't like the word nation state, but yes, we were united, and we were several states of the Union, and the Union was the United States of America. The people, lowercase United States of America, right there on the Declaration of Independence. It's an adjective. It's not a part of the nouns that stand out. Designed specifically, I can only imagine how long they've worked on this document. Designed very specifically with the proper punctuation, blows my mind. And then at some point they incorporated, and really nobody understands who they are. They have these freedoms. King wants to fight another battle, comes back over, War of 1812. Then the king starts funding and getting us to a point of civil war. And so we break out into civil war in the mid 1800s. And then and people think that was for Black rights and all these things. And basically, I'm telling you right now, it's the corporations that were over in Europe, meaning the crown and England and the power structures that were behind the crown. They were pulling strings, but they couldn't do it with a cell phone and get things initiated with, jets flying across and missiles going in. They had to do it slowly and securely, because they had less than 1% of a necessary force to combat a people who were now stretching across this nation and becoming more free and more free. Well, how do you have to flip the design for these people to make them realize that they're trying to help somebody else, meaning the Black culture, the Black people, and they're going to create a new 14th Amendment and which was never ratified, but and I have proof of that, and make people believe that they are now all free. Well, the word citizen as a construct of punctuation was a lowercase within the 14th Amendment, was a different class of citizen in the original Constitution, which was a capital C in the original Constitution document. And in the original document, citizen was spoken of as not a possession. And in the 14th Amendment, it was spoken as a possession of the United States. And so the offer and the acceptance was free the Black people, give them all the 14th Amendment, make everybody start participating in that in the corporation. And it went from 1871 to 1933 to accomplish that goal, basically 70 years. And that time period that it took to accomplish the goal, to get everybody to a point which they took over the money, they took over the land, they took over the gold, the silver, and now they've taken over the people, all in 70 years. But they did it unscrupulously. They did it in a form and fashion that nobody could ever have guessed. And so everybody's thinking everything is cool. And the reality is you were succumbing to a lesser citizenship right by becoming an employee of the United States, and then classified and certified by your own hand and sealed by getting an employment ID number in 1933 or 34, 35. When the Social Security Administrative Act took place in 35, and the issuance of Social Security guaranteed retirement, also the pulling out of those funds of a check that you were going to get, putting them away for your future retirement. It was golden. You went from 29 to a completely crashed market where everything that you had went to zero, and Chase, man, the founder of Chase Bank was sitting outside buying it all up at 5 points on the dollar. People were jumping out of that second story, third story window, killing themselves because they lost everything. And so we have this now reality check for us that you've got a new deal. You're now an employee, and you basically have ratified the fact that, yeah, you are a state citizen, but you have something that's more important. You said, I will abide by the employment manual for these benefits, rights, and privileges. And they had to tie it up in a whole lot of different ways. They had to make sure that those benefits were so great that you would want to stage your freedom against a benefit, like give up that freedom, that sovereignty for a benefit. And you do that by you crushing the people, you crushing their jobs, you crushing the economy, you crush everything, and you make them wait 4 or 5 years, and then you bring up a new deal, and then you let the military industrial complex put all your new employees to work, which is what they did for combating Hitler and all that stuff that was going on. And so it kind of blows my mind that we're here replaying this whole thing again. And we fail for a lack of knowledge. We fail for a reality check on and we always second guess ourselves as to, who we are and who we think we are. And today it's unfortunate that the large portion and population of America, including many of you, I'm not trying to put you down, just don't understand how difficult it is to be truly free under God, and what those terms and the word self-governance really means. And I'm not saying you don't, I'm just saying maybe we don't have a clue or understand. I'm still trying to grasp it. I still get blown away by how I find myself always realizing how unself-governed I am, and how I rely on many other things. And that's one of the components that you need to realize. If you're relying on processed foods, you're not self-governed. Wait a minute, Kelby, I can be self-governed and purchase my foods from a ranch market down the street, and they're all organic, and that might be true. But what happens when they go out of business? Are you truly self-governed? Do you have a food source? Do you have a water source? Is your debt paid off? That's self-governance. That's according to the word, meaning the word of God. And so in a lot of different respects, we're all still learning what self-governance is. And am I 100% self-governed? I'm pretty good. I think I'm at about 97. There's some things I still could use to help me to be more self-governed. Silly things in people's minds. I'm not even going to talk about them, but silly things in people's minds, but things that are not necessarily a base of personality order, but maybe a physical thing that would help me to be more self-governed long term. Help me to help other people, like neighbors and stuff. And so the question's asked, what are they going to do when they try to take over this nation? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Scripture, I already have the answer. But I'm going to tell you what I think esoterically, secularly, and just some guy who is pissed off. And I see absolutely a play of biblical proportion, but that's not how I said I was going to answer. But I see that, and I know it's going to play out. Now, is it going to play out the way the majority of pastors say? No, it's not. In my humble opinion, I just don't believe that, because I think if they can get the pastors to agree on certain things that aren't necessarily scripturally supported, or maybe give you an opinion that is loose and interpreted by one scripture that isn't exactly a laid out structural scripture saying this, that, in this time, because a lot of scripture can be interpreted in a lot of different forms and fashions and respect. And so I don't want to put myself against any pastor. I just think that if the majority of the pastors, which are taught by other pastors, which are taught by other pastors, which are handed down by handing down, and many pastors don't dig in enough for themselves to determine the truth, and that's okay. Even though they're paid, they should be digging in to determine the truth for their sheep, for their people. But it could be loosely interpreted that they're giving a misconception of what's going to take place. And when the things that they're saying don't take place, the people will lose faith. And that's what Satan wants. That's what the devil wants. Now let's go back to how I think it's going to go down from a secular standpoint. Don't laugh at me, man, because I'm telling you, um, I'm saying something that I've only said a couple times publicly, and it is so odd. It is so weird. But I see a play, and only because I look at my life and I listen to what's going on in the world, and I'm kind of like a data collection dump, and I just take it in, take it in, take it in, and what's happening is it's building the picture of what they are doing. And so when you take a look at every single movie coming out, from Tom Cruise to Will Smith to the new movie The Flash to everything, it all shows an alien invasion. Now, that being said, there are things in the scripture that would support something to that degree taking place here in this world. There's entire technologies ready to display something like that in this world. The reason why they've kept the UFO phenomena down for so stinking long is because they don't want people at large to know that these technologies exist. And they for sure don't want people to know that the United States and Germany, at a minimum, had these technologies since the 1920s and 30s. Point being, not making a guess, but if you see something on the horizon and you see little laser beams going on, you know it came here first. Okay, so I'm just saying, whatever that means to you, I don't want to make a prediction, but every single data point on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, every movie coming out right now, all of it, aliens are here. Alien invasions are going to take place according to the movies coming out. And they are prepping the kids and these generations for that today. So whatever that means to you, keep that crazy conspiratorial nugget in the back of your mind and understand something. It's not going to be, in my opinion, the real deal. It will be an impersonation to make people believe something that would bring about a one world leader to defeat that force and to bring about that global leader to show who he is in power, in money, in might, and be your new world order God, if you will. And it will get to another biblical proportion. So there you go. That's not necessarily the question, but you ask, how are they going to make banks fail? There's a number of ways to make this system, because they don't want to take any blame. And in order for the Great Reset to take place, they have to crash everything. They have to make it an even playing field around the world, if you will. Hey, Kitty. The window for her. And so when you make it an even playing field around the world, that way in this nation, everything that's gone on and how well we have been off for so many years, you have to, and making it an even playing field around the world, that means you need to deplete the United States economy to a degree in which everybody would be willing to settle for anything. And what they've in fact done, and this is the news and stuff that I'm hearing about, is because of certain things that are taking place around the world and that have been, it could be that 100 million people are no longer here in 2028, by 2028. That would dramatically affect the economy. That'd be one thing you can blame things on. We are going to go through another quote unquote issue in 2025, much like 19 and 20, only much, much, much worse. That's the foretelling of a future event. So if you take a coupled economy that's crashing, you listen to what they're saying, that there's going to be an EMP attack against the economy, against the America's ability to have electricity, and just listen to what they're saying. They're saying no power for 9 months would absolutely crush our economy, and I wholeheartedly agree. So whether it's an invasion, whether it's a corporate invasion, whether it's a country invading, which are all frontline symbols and signs that are coming, meaning China, to our shores here. All of those things tell a story, but they can only come after the debtors, the people, and that's the only reason why they are here is their bonds, and they've been given permission by a family that has been on the take for some period of time, in my opinion. And so, who are they looking for? They're looking for their debtors. What are they trying to do? They're trying to get names and phone numbers of people that are coming against them, that are speaking out, that are what have you. So the administration currently is tapping several million phones and trying to determine what they can do against stopping those people, just like they're doing with the ex-president Donald Trump. They're going to try to do the same thing with other people around this nation. This is why they've created the FEMA camps. This is why all of this stuff is running in play. Now, if you're not a debtor and you're not in their jurisdiction and you're not a company man, but you're a private, independent, sovereign man or woman, not a sovereign citizen, a man or woman that is self-governed, that is a state of the union citizen. If you're one of those, you are not a party to the debt by your own admissions, by your own allegiance, by your own benefits. You are saying, I don't want nothing to do with that. I don't want to put a dime into that. I don't want to use the social anymore. Not to say you can't take that equity that you put in back out and put it in your foundation, but the element is removing the allegiance, removing the contracts, and coming out, just like God said. He's not talking to the world, he's talking to his people. Come out of her, my people. And then you look at what the construct of her is, and there's nothing that points to the United States whore, the corporate whore, which put its tentacles around the world using a military industrial complex, a religious complex, and a structural support system that, its tentacles go around the world, where every company known as a country, Australia Republic, registered in the District of Columbia, goddess of death and destruction, one of the definitions for Columbia, the whore, goddess of death and destruction, the military industrial complex going around the world, waging war, creating stuff. Do you know the entire thing that we went through was a military exercise in the last several years? Had nothing to do with obviously these companies had something to do with it, but the military was behind the entire operation. So we have to ask ourselves, what are they doing? What is the only safety net that we have as a people? And the only safety net that anybody has worldwide is to come out of her, my people. Stop pledging yourself, your fortune, and your sacred honor to a whore. Dedicate everything that you have to God and let God help with your safety net, and let the law help with whether you are able to be touched or not. We were protected under the Lieber Code, under Supreme Court, hundreds of Supreme Court rulings. It is we fail for a lack of knowledge. It is our admissions that put us in prison. Our admissions, 98% of all people in prison, it's their admission of doing something wrong. And unfortunately, we need to really be reserved, self-governed people these days, and we really need to consider all the elements of self-governance. But the law supports us privately. The law supports, but it won't support you in a home that may be debt riddled, where you're trying to pay back due taxes and you're not considering how to bring your home out. Or it may not help you if you understand what I'm saying. There's many different elements of self-governance and taking these things that were initially ours. Like a car. The car back in the day was a manufacturer statement of origin. That was title. And the state said, come on, dealerships, you're going to give us the titles and we're going to give certificates of title. And so the state owns the title and you register your car and you have to pay a tax every year just to travel in their car. It's the same on a home. You think it's your home and you buy a home. Look at the recordation. I'm a broker. Look at the recordation. Legal description. That's above the land. That is not land. Joint tenant. That is not ownership. Fee simple is. A tenant in common is not ownership. Fee simple is. Meets and bounds. That's the land. You put it in an entity that they own called a registered organization, which is your all caps name, or another entity that they own, which is a corporation. So everything we do, we fail for a lack of knowledge. The assets that we have that we're pledging because we don't know how to record any different. Well, we help people record their houses properly, buy gold, by hand, fee simple, meets and bounds in the name of a foundation. That's the best way to record. That's the way they did it old school, and it works. And it's your home, and everything down below is yours. And so it's something to take into clear consideration for yourself. And people think that you can't own the land these days. Like here in California, they won't let you record in meets and bounds anymore. Oh, yes, they will. Yes, they will. But they tell all these power broking title attorneys, no, they won't. No, they won't. I do it all the time. And if anybody has a problem, let me know. If you're in LA, I'll take you to the manager of the recorder's office in LA. We'll get it done. The point I'm trying to make is, what's going to happen with the Great Reset? You're going to see people fighting. You're going to see this nation with $750 million in guns standing up for their freedom. They will not let soldiers in foreign countries, even UN soldiers in many of these states, walk around with and reign with freedom. Many of the soldiers that we have in our own nation are going to rebel. And it's those people that are going to be dressed up in those soldiers' outfits. But they're playing another game too. We've been infiltrated in the last weeks and months of middle, like young men coming over our border from multiple countries. Why is that? From over 180 countries, mostly men of a young age. Why is that? UN soldier outfits. That's why. There's many reasons why they're doing what they're doing, and they're playing it from every different perspective because they have to. And here's the things that we're going to have to remember. No, thank you. We're going to have to, everything is going to be done voluntarily. Now, you need to get this or you're not going to eat. No, thank you. You need to leave your house and come over to here because we'll feed you. No, thank you. If you're self-governed, those are things that you don't need. And those are very important things to consider. But in this nation, the reason why they can't just take you and embed you and put you away is, thank you, Tracy, is because you have the law behind you and they have to do everything under or through the color of law, permission marketing to get you to volunteer. And that's the United States, and that's all they've ever done. They've done these excellent permission marketing tools over a period of time, delivering benefit drivers, social, voting, all these benefits, and you keep contracting new jobs for the United States that deliver upon to them the fact that you are the surety for the debt. You are the collateral for the debt of this nation. See, your birth certificate is an abandonment certificate given to the state by your mom. They own title or the title equivalent to you, and you keep saying that's you, and you keep using that birth certificate to gain access to a driver's license, to gain access to a voter's registration card, to gain access to bank accounts, to gain access to all these things. And if you don't deliver yourself from those things, and I'm not saying you have to walk away, but you have to recontract your position within those things, because they are all adhesion trusts, and that's a whole nother dialogue. But on that note, I think that there's going to be elements where it'll be very difficult in some areas in that collapse. It might be that we lose power. It might be that and those hypotheticals and those scenarios are so vast, I can go on for hours. But we teach in the living in the private the facts that, yes, there's ways to ride the back of that system and that structure, and where you're investing widely in crypto currencies, and where you are actively operating a lot smarter than they want you to believe. And right now, the United States government is doing everything they can to push everybody out of crypto, suing everybody they can so they can gain controls in their tentacles and grab at everything they can. It's those guys that listened and are listening right now that get the crypto and put it onto cold storage, hard wallets, and put that stuff away. Those are going to be very, very, very rich men and women down the road, and you will be the bank. You will be the bank because you can transfer assets off of there and buy a house outright. You can transfer assets to a private capital guy and he will wire Fed coin to close on a transaction. It is getting weird. You know, in China, you can't even get into a car unless your app says something and you are approved because you are fully V'd, you are compliant, you are a good little boy, you did everything they said. They're going for that same thing across the world. Our God, for the record, will not be mocked. I already know the end game. We're just going to get through the nuancy stuff from now till then, because the only one that's going to be crowned king in this world is Yeshua. No other. There's no other alternates. There's no other way. There's one way. And I know a lot of people don't want to believe that and will even mock me for saying that. And I'm okay with that. But there's no other faith that's more hated than my faith in Jesus Christ. There's none other. None other. None are being mocked by the transgender communities, by the transsexual communities like Jesus is. Nothing out there is being mocked. And the word says that you will be hated for my name's sake. Isn't that interesting that no other faith is being hated? You got the Dalai Lama making out with a young little boy, telling him to suck his tongue, and you haven't heard another thing about that. Imagine if a Christian pastor did that here, what kind of ruckus that would be. Think about that for a second. It's all coming forth. Everything that we've ever wanted and waited for is on the horizon. We still have to act and operate like we're doing this long term, and we still have to be prepared for long term. And that's basically where my mentality is, and that's where I've always been. And I'm just sharing that with people, but we have to be smarter than them, ready, and the law supports everything about being a state citizen. Let's put it to you this way. Currently, you're a United States citizen or a citizen of a nation somewhere. Think about this. If you are the collateral or the surety and the beast system wants to chip and mark you as their property, are you okay with that? Well, you don't have to be, is the whole point. So everybody's asking, why should I? And it's like the old adage with President Kennedy, you know, don't ask what your country can do for you. And that's truth. That is truth. Ask what you can do. And how do you participate? And we've got it all wrong what self-governance is. We're not here to receive benefits, rights, and privileges. We're here to exact out our God-given unalienable rights on this world, and to be a good fiduciary for the only what I would call my Lord and Savior God, and be a good representing party to the very end. So that's a very long-winded answer on a very difficult question to answer, but that question directly relates to jurisdictional as to where we will be during and after. Our security is in the law way beyond what your existing security is in the law if you are the collateral for the debt of the nation. Okay, get some water. Okay. So the second portion of that question was what, Tracy?
So the two parts of that question was, one was, you know, what's going to happen when the banks collapse? How does that affect coming out? And then what happens when the whole entire system the whole government, everything collapsed. How does that affect? So
We dealt with both of that, the financial
yeah, we
realm
did.
and then we dealt with both of that. Okay.
Good.
Yeah, we're gonna answer a question live. Question from a member regarding the living in the private program. Is your LPP living in the private program? Is there anything pertaining to remedies such as the 1099B or 1099 OID process? The answer is no. I don't believe in dipping into that. I understand people believe that, and that's okay. And that's your opinion and or whoever's opinion, but we do not dip in and dip out of a structure that I believe is a part of the B system. And in a lot of different respects, a trap. I've always offered people, anybody that wants to show me a grant deed or reconveyance, if they show me their OID, for a refund or using a 1099A for a settlement or discharge or a money order or a cashier's check or whatever the instrument is that they're using, if they want to show me that and they want to show me the process in which they discharge the debt, because I've been around this a long time and I know that I have not seen a discharge that's been effective or for a long period of time, meaning where they don't come and try to take it back, for about 5 years, 6 years. But the point being is I also see people get in trouble doing it. And if you're not a creditor and you're the debtor and you're trying to form and affect this, you don't have the jurisdiction over that money. You're the debtor. Number one. Number two, if you're doing it wrong, you're at risk. And so I don't want to have a foot into what I would call the B system or the horror and dabble with that. I don't want to play around with that. I can go out and make a living with these two hands and go for it. And I think if we invest properly in the crypto communities and we invest properly and save, we will be able to stand on our own 2 feet where we don't spend extravagantly. We pay off our house, we pay off our debts, and we do what the word of God says. I have a feeling that we're going to be, stop me out, here. I have a feeling that we're going to be able to have long-term wealth for generations to come. But who knows how long before our Lord and Savior's here? Who knows? And that's if you believe that. But just to answer your question, I was knee deep in it 12 years ago, and I saw too many things. I know the laws state it and support it, but I saw too many things that got me a little worried. And so I didn't want to participate in that anymore. And I wanted to help people to figure out how to come out without risking themselves by staying in and then operating with those are the bank's monies. And I know you want to believe it's yours, but it's their birth certificate, it's their systems, it's their bonds, it's their everything. And when we tap into that, we put ourselves at risk. And I always ask in the end, what will the Lord honor? Playing 1 foot in, 1 foot out? I don't know. I don't think so. And so now, even if you're using that for his glory, which is a plausible thing that a lot of people talk about as they buy their Escalades, as they buy their Mercedes, as they buy their whatevers, using those systems, and then to get them repoed, or they have to sell them super fast because they will order a new title from the, meaning Ford will give a title and then they'll take the title back and say that that's fraud, and then they'll call the local county sheriff's office and say this person's committing fraud with bonds. And how are you going to prove? You don't know how to operate in court. You don't know how to prove whether that bond was accurate, not accurate, or whatever. Just they're causing a lot of people problems. Is this real? Yeah. Is it going to get accomplished? Yeah. Is it you coming out? No. Is it you playing ball and playing with them and using those funds for your glory or his glory? It could be. So just that's how I kind of think. And I'm saying that very respectfully. I'm not trying to put anybody's structure or system down, but I haven't touched anything like that in 12 years. And I never made this ministry a part of it. And I've given every warning I could to people to stay away from that as much as possible because of the ramifications and of the liability. What happens if you go into the private and you're in an existing family trust with a family not living in the private? Nothing. It's that family trust is its own trust, has its own directions, own operating agreement, own everything. It has nothing to do with you. So really, there's no ramifications whatsoever of you being private. The only thing that happens is you're going to have to figure out how do you want to execute the benefits of that trust when it comes due. That's it. What do I think the next big move is going to be by the New World Order that's going to really cause people to wake up? And if you're not self-sufficient, you are going to be up a creek without a paddle? Question mark. A financial collapse coupled with a power grid collapse, something to that degree. That's what they keep talking about. And it doesn't need to be national or worldwide. It can be localized in regions and tested out. But they're talking about 2 weeks to 9 months. And if you were to take the power and turn it off in this nation for 9 months, you would have a great reset. And you would have a fifth of the population left when it was all said and done. I don't want to think that for the people, but they're telling us what they're doing. What I just stated to you was not a guess. It's what they're saying are plausible events that could take place. And so by their own esoteric thought process of full disclosure necessity requirement in the religion that they're in, just consider that. I didn't guess that. I told you what they're saying. So just consider that. I know so many people. So there's a lot of comments online. Hey guys, not used to seeing comments online anymore. What process? Here, I'll read the question mark for that personal law. What process would a Californian remove his name from the voter registration list? So in our living in the private process, we actually do it for you. It's just it's a series of documents. It's three letters. Because we don't want to fill out any new registration requirements, because there's like people that, let me give you an example. I wanted to cancel membership at a gym. The guy told me I needed to sign a new form quitting the gym. And I looked at him, I put him on video, and I said, I want to assure you, this is my only thing I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you verbally that I am no longer a member, and neither is my wife. And he said, well, your wife needs to be here. And I'm like, no, she doesn't. I am the controlling interest in the marriage that is canceling out both agreements, because it is one contract. It's not two. It may be two memberships, but it is one agreement that we filled out, and I'm canceling that. And this guy argued with me that I needed to sign this or I was not going to get canceled for 20 minutes. I recorded it, put it all online. I got like 12,000 views in the next 6 months, but I got it canceled without signing a new document to get me out. Now, under the IRS code, under the voters registration, under SSA, Social Security Administration, they all have exits if you don't want to participate, all within their code. Isn't that interesting? And so you can exit. The cat decides to do all these crazy things right when I get on, trying to get my attention. It's funny. So all have had to do that because they need to be able to give you an exit, a way out. You know, they can't just let you in. For every law that public law that's put in place, there's a private that's an exit, period. So for the voters registration, it's really a trust, and the drivers is really a trust, and SSA is really a trust. Why do I say that? Because it's a form, the trust. It's a form. The state's the grantor, and read the back of it. The state's the beneficiary. You're coming on as the trustee saying, yeah, I'll do all these things. Nobody gives you a countersigned agreement. It's not a contract per se. which means you can change the elements of the trust indenture at any time. And that's what we do at His Advocates. Kitty. Oh my gosh. Hey, Kitty, stop it. Rascal. She's clawing on this thing over and over. Sorry, guys, this is funny. All right, next question. I'm going to start answering a few questions on the on YouTube for everybody. Give me 1 second. What are you doing? Sorry, guys. This is live. This is what goes down when you have a cat. So next question. What does a state citizen do when he gets a notice to appear for grand jury? Great question. So I've done this for my family, friends, and every living in the private member that has issue. Number one, you never say no. So we have a letter and we ask a series of questions within the letter and we never get a response. And so we send off a secondary letter and they always remove you. Bottom line is we ask for, what does this mean? What does that mean? It's a bunch of jurisdictional questions and we put it in the form of a FOIA, but it's, hey, I'll be more than happy to serve. I just want to make sure I'm going to the right spot. What does all this mean? And we ask very specific things and what it means, and they don't want to address any of it and kick you out of having to serve in the jury pool. Kitty, yeah, can y'all hear that? It's like being super loud. Hey, I like that version of Kelby, Kelbee. That's cool. That's the first I've seen that. It's Kelbi, or I've seen it all heard. Okay, that's something. You hear her? She's making a ton of noise. Do you hear that? She's in so much trouble later. GW Labs, why'd you delete your message, man? Up your 73. Oh man, I don't know how I feel about your name, bro. Okay, yeah, I don't see any more questions on mine there. Anybody Trace, can you hear how loud my cat's being right now?
Actually, no, I don't really hear the cat.
You don't hear that? If I had a pillow, I'd throw it right now. Awesome. No, we would love to have you back as a VIP member. Oh my gosh. 2 things. This Saturday, you don't want to miss our VIP show on Saturday. We gave a homework assignment for all the VIP members. I'm going to send it back out this week.
Oh, not VIP show on Saturday, town hall meeting on
Town
Saturday.
hall, same thing, VIP member only.
2 p.m. Pacific time.
3 p.m. Pacific.
No, 2
p.m. 2 p.m. Pacific. Tracy, no, why is that? Why are we doing it at 2?
Because I'm central and it's going to hit my 4 o'clock.
No, but that doesn't make a good reason why we had to move it to 2. Like, can you tell everybody why we had to move it to 2?
It's because I have a church anniversary to go to.
Oh,
and
I got it. It's all about Tracy. I got it.
No, I don't want to miss it because
it's all about you. I got it, man. No, I'm good.
I don't want to miss it. I want to have time to stay on while I'm getting ready for the anniversary.
I'm good. We're clean. We're good. Anyway. Okay, so I don't see any more questions anywhere. But Saturday, 2 p.m. Pacific, it's a town hall meeting. We put out a video that we want you guys to watch because I don't think people understand how AI is playing into everything that we're talking about. And artificial intelligence is probably going to be the most important thing that we need to grab onto and understand, not necessarily get into the demonic nature of how it's being utilized or get into all that stuff, but to get into the elements of how we can benefit from it. Because in the next several years, it'll be the people that use AI against itself to perform upon or execute things for their business or their ability to function. AI is going to help tremendously in a lot of different respects. I don't look at it as necessarily all negative because there's a lot of that negative conspiratorial stuff that is attached to AI with good cause, good reason. But we're gonna be talking about how to utilize it, and we're gonna send a video out again. We sent it out last week. We're gonna send it out a couple more times this week. Just to remind y'all, watch the video, and then we're gonna have a discussion point, 2 o'clock Saturday Pacific. It'll probably be a good 2-hour show. Open forum, everybody gets to talk and think through what we're going to do and how we can have this best serve. And I'm gonna get some, I'm trying to get some AI experts to come on and to, if not this show or this town hall, but to show the tools that we have at our hands and that we can utilize right now. Like, let me give you an example. I was sitting next to a kid at a house this last week, and the kid said, I wrote my master's, blah, blah, blah. He did something to get his degree. It was like the final something. I know what the doctorate is, you know, but I don't know what you have to do for the master's. I forget the term. And he went to AI and he said, this is what I want. And he had it write it 5 different ways. He said, write it again a different way. And he did it again 5 different ways. And then he said, and blend that all into one. And so we have a complete new original or something to that degree. He said it somehow. And then he turned it in for an A. So AI wrote his dissertation to get his master's. And that's what all the kids are doing these days. So if you don't jump in front of that right now, figure out how to help support your business model or whatever from an action plan for marketing or what have you. I will tell you, we are using AI in a lot of different respects to help us in marketing. And I'll leave it at that. But there's a lot of things that can be done that will benefit, like getting real bodies before this YouTube channel that would allow for them to watch. We're at 31,000 subscribers almost now. And so that is not going to stop. It's going to keep going. It's going to keep building. We just got to avoid some of those keywords, but you know what I mean? So 2 o'clock Saturday, VIP members only town hall meeting on AI and how we can help ourselves with this structure, because I can't begin to tell you how many benefits there are and how many liabilities there are. That's it. Anything else, Trace?
So yes, the VIP show that is usually tonight has been moved to Wednesday, same time.
Because of a meeting we have with people in Hawaii.
Yes.
In 30 minutes.
Yes.
God bless you guys. Have a great day. Thank you for watching. See you guys on YouTube tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific. Good night.